The Obama team, facing Trump's shocking victory, pivoted from downplaying Russian threats pre-election to hyping them in post-election, all to delegitimize the new president. And I want to go through step by step. We'll hit everything, dates, players, deceptions. But this is a timeline, and it's complex. Hopefully we'll be able to get through all of it. This is the timeline of Russiagate, the hoax that nearly tore our nation apart. In fact, it still might. This is a mass conspiracy, and it is all weaved together in one, well, actually, on two, three chalkboards. You haven't seen this three one tonight. And it starts here on April 2016. Hillary Clinton and the DNC hire Fusion GPS through their law firm, Perkins Coie, run by Mark Elias. Do I have him up on the screen yet? Mark Elias, you know, the guy who's currently making all the money. I think it's through Act Blue and organizing and orchestrating all of the litigation against Donald Trump. That guy. He was part of this. And their job was to dig up opposition research on Trump. Now, Fusion GPS was led by Glenn Simpson, and it brings in Christopher Steele. Now, he was a former British spy with deep anti-Trump biases. This is where the infamous Steele dossier begins. This is it. It's a collection of bullcrap alleging that Trump was a Russian asset, cultivated for years, complete with blackmail material, okay? The dossier funded by Clinton allies. And if you remember right, when it first came out, they said, no, this was funded by the Republicans. Somebody else did this with the Republicans, and they just picked it up. Not true. The Clinton allies produce this, and it becomes fuel for the fire. Now, jump to, let's see, June 9th, 2016. We talked about this one. Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort, they meet a Russian lawyer named, I don't know, Nadia Velelinsky, whatever. They meet at Trump Tower. Nothing useful comes. She's really vague. I want to meet with you. And they meet, and it's a very uncomfortable, odd meeting. And she talks about sanctions. Later, Mueller comes back and investigates this as potential collusion, but there are no charges. What's suspicious? Well, she has ties to Fusion GPS, the same firm behind the dossier. Was it a setup? I don't know. Seems suspicious. Now, June 14, 2016, CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike investigates the DNC server hack. When I did a show on this right after it happened, I was like, why isn't the FBI investigating this? Why are they giving it to CrowdStrike? In fact, CrowdStrike, they did all of the investigation. It was on the DNC during an election. We don't know who hacked into it. And the FBI didn't even examine the servers? How could that be? Well, CNN and others blasted out, setting the stage for interference claims. But remember, the FBI never examined the servers themselves. They relied on CrowdStrike. When's the last time you heard the Democrats say, no, private can do it better? Right? June 20th, 2016. Steele starts to compile his first dossier report, and he is alleging all kinds of lies. By July 5th, he's sharing it to the FBI through Bruce Orr at the DOJ, whose wife, Nellie, works for Fusion GPS. So he completes the dossier, and then he says to Nellie, hey, do you have a husband that maybe works at the FBI? Sure, I do, my husband. And they hook up. And so he starts taking it to the FBI, and the FBI takes it seriously despite all of the unverified bullcrap within it. Then we go to July 31st, 2016. The FBI opens Crossfire Hurricane. Now, this is a probe into the Trump-Russia links, and it's based on a tip about George Papadopoulos. The dossier quickly becomes central. General Flynn gets swept in under this umbrella. Now, These are all things we knew. But now let's begin weaving in what the recently declassified stories tell us about all of this. Okay. About this time, August 31st, 2016, a DHS email to DNI James Clapper says there is no evidence of Russia vote manipulation. Russia lacks the intent or the capability. Now, what were we talking about at that time? We were talking about they were going to hack into the systems, but also that Donald Trump might be a secret spy. And so they're working with Donald Trump. They're going to throw the election. They're going to gin up some bad stuff about Hillary Clinton. Pre-election, the intelligence community is now downplaying these threats. No, not happening. So what happens? September 1st and the 2nd of 2016, emails drafting the ICA, which is the Intelligence Community Assessment, show the FBI is now softening the language on Russia. This is so key. They soften the language. They're starting to ratchet things down. It also shows internal dissent. It shows collectively very low confidence in anything about Russia. Here's where it gets more interesting. On September 8th, right here, the ICA is finalized. Russia cannot manipulate the election. The election is finalized. Judges, nobody can do anything about it. Skepticism, however, continues. September 9th, 2016, President's daily brief, the input says they're not manipulating any votes whatsoever. But for some reason, the Russia hysteria was just starting to heat up on the campaign trail and in the media. We go to September 19th. Where are we? September 19th. Here. I love this one. A Clinton lawyer, Michael Sussman, shares a bogus Alpha Bank data with the FBI. Now, remember, during the campaign, a Clinton lawyer says, I found some secret pings between Russian servers in the Trump Tower. Durham would later debunk this as fabricated by Clinton allies, a hoax to tie Trump's family and business to Russia. Okay? But do you remember hearing about it? It was everywhere in the news. October 21st, the first FISA warrant on Carter Page is approved using uncorroborated information from the Steele dossier. Okay? 17 errors and omissions, as the IG later finds, but somehow or another, the FBI gets this through FISA. Durham would later reveal that the FBI altered an email to hide Page's CIA ties and cooperation with the government. So they're saying to the FISA courts, he's a bad guy, based on what Christopher Steele says, okay? He's a really bad guy. Well, is it possible he's doing these things because he's a CIA asset? No, nope, look, we asked, it's not here. They changed it to say he's not an asset, that he's hostile to the government. Not true. Then the media onslaught begins to shift into high gear. October 31st. Mother Jones is the first one to come out, along with an article and a Slate article, alleging Trump-Russia ties. The same day, State explodes with the Alpha Bank story. Was a Trump server communicating with Russia? More bogus claims targeting Trump's family, all cooked up here. Now, it's convenient how they can have these conversations, and then all of a sudden, at just the right time, it's in the newspapers, it's on television. Now, for the moment, that was not supposed to happen. Not supposed to happen. This moment was not supposed to happen. All of this was to make sure this moment didn't happen. November 8th, 2016, Trump wins the election. This is the pivot point. Team Obama, Hillary Clinton, everybody stunned. Stunned. They don't know what to do. So they have to shift gears. Now, back to the new and recently declassified data. In these, from December 7th, 2016, the talking points prepared for Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, claiming, quote, We assess that foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on the election infrastructure to alter the United States presidential election outcome this year. We have no evidence of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter the results. Okay. All right. But nobody at this point was really even talking about were they hacking into systems. It was all about Trump having a tie to a Russian bank, Trump being in bed. He's going to be a puppet now. All of that. That's what people were talking about because that's what they were alleging through the press. Now, on December 8th, 2016, the presidential daily brief draft, just a month after the election, states that Russia, quote, did not impact the recent U.S. election results. Well, now this particular, because this draft comes out here, that means he's the president-elect. So if it's in the presidential daily briefing, Michael Flynn and Donald Trump will get that same draft. They will see the same report when it comes in. So later that day, phone call comes in. Stop. Do not release that draft. Do not give it to the president. Why? Well, it came from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Quote, based on some new guidance, we're going to push back publication of the PDB. It will not run tomorrow and is not likely to run until next week. Notice it says on some new guidance. Guidance, not new information, new guidance. And who gave that guidance? Well, the answer comes the very next day. December 9th, 2016, Obama's national security team meet in the Situation Room for 2 hours, 11:30 to 1:30. Take a look at the names that attended. Barack Obama, Susan Rice, John Brennan, James Comey, Ben Rhodes, John Kerry, Loretta Lynch, Jay Johnson, Victoria Nuland, and Joe Biden. I mean, this is the deep state. It is the biggest deep state officials, the gathering. It was like a deep state picnic. How many other scandals are linked just to those names? All right, during the meeting, the shift occurred. It was a shift that defied every single intelligence community assessment up until this point. Because remember, Trump was not supposed to win. Now the president gives the National Security Council new marching orders. Quote, the IC is prepared to produce an assessment per the president's request that pulls together the information we have on the tools and the actions it took to influence the 2016 election. An explanation of why Moscow directed these activities and how Moscow's approach has changed over time. Notice it doesn't say, based on new intelligence. It doesn't say, hey, by the way, there was nothing that changed the election, digitally, but as we've been talking about the whole time. No, we don't have a new whistleblower. We don't have any super secret intercepts that prove yada, yada, yada. Nothing. It's direction from this man. This is what I wanted to read per the president's request. Obama was unhappy, and the witch hunt commenced, or should I say the coup commenced. Oh, and guess what else happened that day? This is a wild coincidence. The Washington Post actually has a story that drops this day. Secret CIA assessment says Russia was trying to help Trump win. Wow! The same day, President Obama came to that conclusion and said, this is what I want this to. The same day. Wow. What a coincidence. Now keep in mind, every assessment up until that day claimed all of this was bogus. But Obama made the request and told them all to go back to the drawing board and figure out something else. And suddenly, that same day, the Washington Post receives information from super secret but high authority that furthers the narrative. At this point in the timeline, we're not out of 2016. And it gets crazier once Donald Trump assumes office, which I believe was the entire point. The entire timeline now is about to snowball into investigation, threats of impeachment, questionable federal judges media frenzy, and so much more. The entire mass conspiracy comes together by the end, and I will show you the end of this board when we come back. All right, we're right in the middle of this timeline, which takes everything from almost a decade and wraps it up into one big mass conspiracy salad. Ultimately, it's the attempted coup against President Trump. Now, we left off in late 2016 with the Obama team all gathering together, ordering a new intelligence assessment to hype Russian interference after Trump's win. Let's pick it up there. It happened January 5th, 2017. The Oval Office, there's a meeting, and it focuses on General Flynn. Obama, Biden, Comey, Rice, Yates all discuss Flynn's calls with the Russian ambassador and decide to withhold information from incoming Trump team because we can't trust it. The collusion narrative furthers, and it's all connected to all of these people at the very top. That same day, the intelligence community assessment is finally released. This time, it shows high confidence, remember, no evidence, to high confidence that Russia ran a pro-Trump campaign, hacks, leaks, and propaganda. There is no additional new information. It's all coming from the Steele dossier. And it sneaks in as an annex, despite low confidence in that. Well, then that's the cue for the media firestorm. January 10th through the 12th, BuzzFeed says, screw it. They publish the full dossier, okay? Unverified, just do it. CNN somehow gets word that the nation's most secretive people on the planet, the heads of the intelligence community, briefed Trump on the dossier. How that happened, we just don't know. While he's in being briefed on it, what happens? CNN runs the story. The strategy is very clear. It was now a full-on blitzkrieg from the press that Trump was a Russian asset via blackmail. And all of this was coming right from Obama's henchmen. The media, through their leaks from those people, the Washington Post leaks the Flynn calls implying the Logan Act, saying somehow or another he was violating the law from talking to him before he's actually in office. And they obtained information that was previously only known to the White House and the FBI. Amplification of Trump is compromised by Russia. That's the narrative. It just continues. By January 20th, this is the day Susan Rice sent that infamous email to herself on Inauguration Day. Everything was done by the book, she says. Everything. She's talking about all of this. Now, it's suspicious timing, but it now makes sense, doesn't it? January 24th, 2017, the FBI now interviews General Flynn at the White House. Guess who's there to help him? Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok questions him on the Russian ambassador calls without proper warnings. Durham and the Inspector General later criticized this as a setup. January, April, June of 2017. Carter Page, he comes back, and Carter is wanting to make sure that the FISA warrants are renewed. And they're riddled with errors. But don't worry, the FBI lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, just takes it on himself and alters to downplay Page's CIA ties. Now, this is a problem because that's illegal to do that. I think it's 5 to 20 years in prison for doing that. But just remember, we'll come back to him. He pleads guilty later. February 13th, 2017, Flynn officially resigns amid the media storm over his calls. The first big Russiagate casualty, crippling Trump's early administration, and all based on bullcrap and initiated from the former president. The coup was working. March 20th, 2017, Comey now comes before Congress and testifies before the House Intel Committee, confirming the FBI probe into the Trump-Russia ties. This authorized more hearings, allegations including Flynn's contacts. By May 17, 2017, Robert Mueller has appointed a special counsel by Rod Rosenstein. This probe absorbs the Flynn case, the dossier influence, leading to years of leaks and media attacks that all undermine Trump. Remember, it all started here with her. It worked until the election, and when that didn't work, it went to him and them. That's when all the impeachment talk began. June 12th, 2017, New York Times, impeachment anxiety amid Russiagate. But the New York Times is just getting started, because then on June 11th, the New York Times, who somehow received confidential government records, dropped an explosive article revealing Don Jr.'s emails about that meeting oh so long ago with her. Remember the Russian lawyer? Now they're saying that's collusion attempt by the Trump family. Was it? The plan, orchestrated back in December 2016, then pushed further by the media, began to grow some teeth. By July 12, 2017, Brad Sherman introduced the first article of impeachment for obstruction of justice in the Russia probe, tied Comey's firing and General Flynn. By March 22nd, where are we on March 22nd? The Mueller report is released. No collusion is found, but obstruction questions linger, including General Flynn's cooperation. The narrative doesn't die. It just fuels more probes. July 24th, Mueller was called to testify, where he basically called Trump an all-out liar and refused to say that the president was not guilty. Remember, he says there's no collusion, but nobody believes that anymore because of all of this. It doesn't matter what the truth is as long as you can sell this soap to the American people. Now, congressmen began to throw the word impeachment around like candy. And by December 3rd, 2019, the House Intel Committee releases its impeachment inquiry report, citing overwhelming evidence of misconduct. Now, this one was about Ukraine. But none of this would have been possible without first having the Russiagate scandal, okay? This report about Ukraine, because these guys, especially her, these guys are all busy in Ukraine while this is happening, okay? This report doesn't shy away from any of that. It said, quote, the president was elected in 2016 with the benefit of unprecedented and sweeping campaign election interference undertaken by Russia in his favor, which the president welcomed and utilized. They all knew this was a lie. They all knew it was an operation beginning back here. But Ukraine gave them the added muscle now to push it forward. So December 18, 2019, Trump is impeached for the first time on abuse of power and obstruction. Russiagate sowed the distrust that made all of the charges stick. None of this happens without it. On August 19, 2020, Kevin Kleinsmith, who nobody really cares. I mean, all he did was alter official documents, lying about somebody so he could get a wiretap. He just got a wiretap, and it's no big deal. Oh, he pleads guilty to that. But guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. He went to see a judge, and you'll never guess who that judge was. Bozeman, the same guy that now is leading, the obstruction cases against Donald Trump. He gives him a slap on the wrist, 400 hours of community service. That's a 5 to 8 year crime. Okay. Now, a month later, September 18th, 2020, this is the latest release from Tulsi Gabbard, just this morning. It is the oversight on Obama's ICA, and it was completed by the House Intel Committee during Trump's first term, okay? And it was suppressed from the public. Only 5 copies were made and kept in one of the most secure vaults in America. No one was ever supposed to see this. Why didn't the Republicans want this out? It shows John Brennan how he overruled his staff, because they all came to him and they said, where's the new evidence? He said, I have new evidence you haven't seen. But they never showed the new evidence. He was never asked to talk about the new evidence. And his underlings all said, we can't do this. This is a problem. This violates everything we know about data collection and reports. Doesn't matter. It also shows that it was Hillary Clinton that the Russians had compromising information on, like blackmail-like intel. Not on Trump, but, you know, the DNC servers that were hacked, they probably should have had somebody besides, you know, who was it? The Fusion, the CrowdStrike. Probably should have had somebody other than CrowdStrike look at it. Because it shows that on the servers, according to Russian intelligence, according to this report from 2020, that Hillary Clinton was riddled with health problems, and the Russians knew it because it was on the hacked servers. Also, they knew about several scandals, all talked about in this. They wanted her to be president. They thought she was unstable, but they thought she could be a puppet because there was so much dirt on her. What? It wasn't Trump that would be blackmailed. It was Hillary Clinton. Putin wanted her to be the puppet. So, what happened here? Well, January 13th, 2021, they impeach him a second time. Incitement of insurrection. Yeah, that's interesting. Because we found out during that there were no FBI or CIA operatives. And then after, we find out that the videotape, which they wouldn't release, doesn't match up with the sworn testimony from the officers. And then, what else? There seems to be like 25 or 30 FBI and CIA operatives there at the gate. What? On January 6th, why wouldn't they have said, warning, you got to have police because we're coming? Why wouldn't you have done that? Where's the pipe bomber? It's all the same thing. If Hillary Clinton wouldn't have started that, Russiagate fiasco would have never happened, ever. Would we be at this point? What a waste of a decade. Constantly breathing lies and smears. Nothing more than a political psyop with a weaponized media. And are we going to see justice on this? I mean, look what happened to Kleinsmith. Was that justice? No, it really wasn't. When the Durham report was released in 2023, we began to see how the FBI launched a probe without evidence. We saw how they misused the Steele dossier. It shined light on other ridiculous hoaxes like the Alpha Bank mumbo-jumbo. This is a timeline of nearly a decade of mass conspiracy. And that's important because some of this falls out of the statute of limitations. Unless it's part of a mass conspiracy, I will tell you, I think there's a lot of people that need to go to jail. Will they see justice? Who were the people that kept all of this going? I'm going to show you their names next. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all the names. These are the names of the conspiracy. These are the names of the people that should be at least considered, some of them for jail. I mean, there's no way to cut it. In fact, Tulsi Gabbard said this today. She says that he should be indicted and prosecuted. Not going to happen. Just not going to happen. Joe Biden, it's not going to happen. Hillary Clinton, not going to happen. But really, these two are the ones that are the kingpins. She's the one starting it and pushing it forward. When it doesn't work, he steps in and he says, mutate, and now push it forward. And then what happens? I mean, if I was doing a chalkboard of power, these are your kingpins here. And they started everything. But then I think you have the ones who should actually go to jail, and we'd have a chance of putting in jail. I think definitely these two. I think this guy too, because this guy's been involved, and now he's doing all the fundraising, and then he's also doing all of the lawfare against Donald Trump. Now he is still going, so he's actually a designer. Okay, but these are the ones that you should start I really think they're going to try to go after, but they're not going to put him in jail. They're not. He'll claim presidential privilege and everything else. But these guys, she was running Biden. He's been running things from behind the scenes. We now see with all of these documents, it's pretty easy to see or to make the case that this guy has been running everything from behind the scenes, using people like James Clapper, John Brennan, Susan Rice. All these guys. This guy is a joke. He's a big poopy pants joke. She's a joke. He probably maybe goes up here. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, they are not jokes. They are serious. This guy probably goes up here. This guy, the federal bench, and these guys are all players. I don't know if they should go to jail, but they're all players. And then what do you have? You have the cover-up. You have the people that were pushing this the whole time. It's amazing to me. The people who have been lying to them over and over again, saying, oh, Russia, 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 and then it's proven not to be right. Those people are exposed in today's documents, and I mean, it's flaming clear in especially today's documents, exactly what happened. And these people are still listening to these people saying, it's a Trump hoax. That's what it is. It's ridiculous.